All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully we'll get a couple other individuals that join throughout the evening. But I'll go ahead and start with the introduction and the disclaimer. So again, thanks everyone for joining tonight's episode. We've got Mike on from Military OneSource. So before we get into the subject matter for the night, just wanted to kind of provide an update on Project Strive and then go over some basic information. So Project Strive, currently we have officially received our 501c3 designation as a nonprofit organization, supporting transition and retirement through integration and veteran engagement. Again, we don't claim to be experts in any particular subject, but what we provide is a forum where like-minded individuals can come together and discuss the challenges, resources available, and opportunities as they transition from military service into their civilian life. So what we'd like to move forward, but before we do, just want to cover that this is a recorded session. We use Read AI. Like I was telling Mike a few minutes ago, you know, the audience is much larger than what you'll see on the call tonight. We posted this to our YouTube channel. We post it on social media so that individuals can get this information on their own throughout the course of the month and further on. So we've got a full library of our previously recorded sessions to make sure that those that aren't able to make it due to time challenges can still get the valuable information. And again, you know, this is not intended for business development or recruiting. This is meant to bring resources to the table to answer tough questions and let people know what they have out there and have access to. Abigail, is there anything that I missed or anything else that you want to add?
No, sir, you covered everything. I just want to thank Mike for coming on and volunteering.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. So Mike is a retired Army logistics officer. Throughout his career, he's had multiple deployments to the Middle East and held command twice throughout his career. I like this fact, Mike. Before commissioning, he was a prior enlisted soldier, achieved the rank of staff sergeant before he got commissioned through West Virginia University. So a prior enlisted Marine Corps officer myself, Mike. So appreciate that path that you took. During his enlisted time, he had two deployments or had multiple deployments to both Afghanistan and Iraq. And in addition to his 20 years of service, he also has 13 years of experience with service members and veterans across West Virginia and the surrounding states. And Mike is currently serving as a contract support for Military OneSource and as the field consultant for the West Virginia and Northern Virginia areas. Mike, want to say thank you once again for coming on, sharing the information that you're going to pass, and thanks for your service and what you do for veterans. With that, Mike, I'll turn it over to you so you can go over your material, and then at the end we'll have a question and answers if there's any. Thanks, Mike.
No problem. And normally I start out with a quick introduction myself, but that's already kind of been covered. And to you, another fellow Mustang, if you're not familiar, that's usually the term for prior enlisted that become an officer, or a lot of people say go to the dark side. But I enjoyed both my times on both sides of the fence. I think one prepared me for the other, and one made me appreciate the other. So it's all good. But yes. So we're here to talk about Military OneSource, and yes, Abigail had sent me information about your organization prior, so I'd looked a little bit of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the program, and I'm going to try to highlight it towards, resources towards the veteran community. Sometimes it may not sound like that, but you'll see how it all fits together when we go through this, and because it's really about what this program is and how it can still extend to the veteran community, even though it's not necessarily designed for the veteran community, I should say. So Military OneSource, for the ones that aren't familiar with it, it's essentially an EAP, an employer-assisted program. That's what it is in a nutshell. In the civilian world, if you have something going on in your life and you need some assistance, the HR departments or human resources typically employ the EAPs. They're normally a third party or contract that they have, to be able to help those employees navigate everyday life challenges and stressors so they can go to focusing on their employment. Well, the Department of War is no different. They want to be able to provide resources to help service members and their immediate families navigate the everyday life challenges surrounding military service, and so they can take care of those things and go back to just focusing on being service members and family members. And how we do that is by being a single source of information and resources, offering free, private, and tailored support 24/7, 365 days a year, through our call center and our website, which is listed at the bottom of every one of those slides, 1-800-342-9647, or our website, militaryonesource.mil. I'll highlight later, but I'll go ahead and plug it early. We do have a mobile application. You can download My Military OneSource. You can look for Military OneSource, you'll find it, but it is called My Military OneSource is the mobile app, and it's very good, and it's a great way for you to connect with us. I also like to highlight that either through the website or the mobile app, you can actually message our triage consultants 24/7. So, I mean, you're always there. You can either call or message us, just instant message us through the website or the mobile app to start to get answers on how to, get the resources that you need. As far as eligibility, there are a lot of different categories here. So normally I'm talking to a very specific audience, and I'm like, hey, let's focus on the eligibility for your specific area. Don't worry about the others. But for this audience, the big things to highlight, yes, this is for actively serving members of the armed forces. All branches, all components. We recently, at the end of last year, in the fall, we transitioned and we became the EAP for the Coast Guard. Prior to last fall, Coast Guard could not utilize Military OneSource unless they were activated on Title 10 orders placed under the Navy. Because it's all about Homeland Security versus Department of Defense at the time, now Department of War. All that's been ironed out, and now they can use us as their main EAP, the Coast Guard. So we cover all branches again, all components, active duty, guard, and reserve, composition 1, 2, and 3, if you will, regardless of their activation status. We also cover the immediate family members. That's typically a spouse and children. Anybody that's DEERS eligible. We do a couple years ago, because Tom mentioned that, he's familiar with OneSource. For a long time, we didn't have access to DEERS to verify eligibility. That problem was eliminated several years ago, about 2 years ago, if I remember right. And now we have access to DEERS to verify and vet all eligibility and make sure that we are giving everything to the right people. Now, as you see, there are some other areas. We do cover expeditionary civilians. We do get those from time to time. During the height of the global war on terrorism, we were seeing expeditionary civilians left and right head out the door, and we were utilizing this a lot more, but it is still out there. We cover them 90 days pre-deployment and 180 days after deployment. The big one for this audience I want to highlight is the fourth bullet. We cover you the whole time you're in the service and up to 365 days post-separation, as long as you get out in good standing, okay? As long as you get out honorably. And again, that goes back to the DEERS, where we're going to verify that through DEERS, okay? So that's where we help with transition services, because we know that as soon as you exit the military, that's when a lot of questions start arising. That's when, some people don't prep well enough ahead of time. And now they're like, oh my gosh, I need help. Where can I go? But I moved I didn't get out of the military and stay right there in that installation. Maybe they moved back to West Virginia, where I'm from, and we have no active duty installations in West Virginia for them to go talk to, Fleet and Family or ACS or something like that. So we do continue to support them for 365 days a year. We do cover survivors. That's a unique category. The big things to remember that is the survivors, as long as they're not currently remarried, and what I mean by is, yes, they could get remarried and become widowed again, but as long as they're not currently remarried, they are eligible for our services. And again, we're going to verify those things through DEERS. Now, this slide, it's a very simple slide, and I have flyers of this, posters I put up in armories in different places just to highlight the big things. But I like to talk about this because this kind of illustrates how we approach assisting the military community. And what I mean by that is simply, when you have an issue going on in your life, a lot of times, it's just human nature that you're like, hey, I got this problem. Give me a resource to tackle that one problem. And we can't see the forest for the trees and realize that one issue or issue going on may be impacting multiple areas of our life. And maybe we need multiple resources to really affect change in a holistic manner. So when you contact us, what we do is we try to ask some open-ended questions, listen, okay, and kind of peel back the layers of the onion a little bit so we can see what's really going on and see if there's multiple resources you might need. An example of that maybe, let's say that a service member 6 months after separation, okay, they get out 6 months after separation. They're having a friction point in their relationship, with their spouse, let's say, and they're fighting like cats and dogs. It's bad. They remember, hey, I remember sitting in a briefing, Military OneSource has marriage counseling, which we do. It's part of our non-medical counseling program, and we do offer that. But when they contact us for scheduling, we're going to, again, listen, because we want to know what's really causing the problem. Let's say that they open up to us and they tell us the reason they have the friction point is their spouse lost their job. They went from a 2-income family to a single-income family. They're not sure how to make ends meet. They're already behind on their bills. And guess what? They're expecting their first child. They got general anxiety about the child and the financial implications. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. Now, because our triage consultants, which are the first people to answer the phones or the text messaging, they verify eligibility and kind of pinpoint what services people really need, and then they hand you off, do a warm handoff to those certain areas to make sure you get that. In this situation, what we would do is, yes, tell them more about the counseling. We'd also probably talk to them about maybe a financial consultation with a certified financial counselor that will work with them on maybe adjusting their budget to their new situation, their new reality of only having one income. Maybe they can look at the community resource finder and look at emergency financial aid organizations in their local community that can help get them out of that initial issue. We'd also probably talk to them about their spouse contacting for a spouse education and career opportunities consultation to get that spouse back in the workforce to really improve that situation in the short term and long term. And then we probably also talk to them about a new mill parent consultation, which works with military parents that are expecting all the way up to age 5, so they understand what they need to expect, different resources, anything from potty training, difficult behavior, self-care, all those good things. And then lastly, because that service member was only 6 months out, we'd probably talk to them about a transitioning veterans consultation, because it's never too late to touch base on that and make sure that you're taking advantage of all the resources available to you and you're hitting all the milestones you need to. So by asking a couple questions, listening to their situation, we can quickly match them up for all kinds of resources they weren't even asking for. Okay, and just make sure that they're really taken care of. So again, that's why I kind of like that slide, because it really kind of, to me, it kind of tells a story. Let's go back in. Let's talk more about some of the bigger resources that we have. Now, one of the biggest ones we have, and it's been around since the beginning, it's very widely known, but it's also kind of misunderstood, because people are like, yeah, I know about it. I've heard about your counseling. So let's jump into that. So our counseling, it's non-medical in nature. Okay. This is for like everyday life stresses. Okay. So think of it more like general talk therapy. You're going to get up to 12 free sessions in a 12-month period. That's a rolling calendar. Okay. So you can get quite a bit. You're going to get 12 sessions per issue as well. So it can actually be for a lot of things. Some examples of the kind of things that are in scope of our individual, of our non-medical counseling. That's last set of bullets there: improving relationships at home and work, stress management, marital issues, deployment challenges, parenting skills, grief and loss, PCS moves, all those different things. And that's just an example of the kind of things that are in scope. There's a lot more to it. But again, you're going to get 12 sessions for each one of these different issues. So you can actually get a lot. Because some people look at it and they're like, well, 12 sessions doesn't sound like a lot. But again, it's per issue. And in the non-medical counseling world, most people don't use 12 sessions. Because these are everyday life challenges and things. It's really about talking to somebody, getting it out in the open, what the issue is, talking about why it bothers you, and then getting some coping mechanisms and moving on. So most people might use, 2 to 4 sessions. And, but again, they can go further. It's just that a lot of people don't need to go because that's not how non-medical is really designed. So just know that that's there. Now, I will say, let me back up. I'll also want to mention that it is for the service member. It's for the spouse. And we can take care of children with our non-medical counseling. Now, there are some special rules around children based on their age and cognitive abilities. If they're ages 13 through 17, they can do individual counseling. Parent or guardian just must actively participate in their first session. And those can be done in person or video because we have to actually physically see and make sure everything's okay. Now, if they're younger than that, ages 12 through 6, we don't take anybody under 6 because they just don't have the cognitive abilities to really participate in the counseling. But if they're ages 6 through 12, they can participate in family counseling. So it's about the family dynamic. They're involved. Parents and guardians are actively involved, and it's about the family dynamic. And again, they can do that in person or video because we have to be able to see the children to make sure everything's okay. Now, we do actually, for the adults, we offer it 4 different ways. We do a telephone, secure chat, and video session, and a face-to-face. The first 3, great virtual options. Don't have to drive anywhere, sit in a waiting room, fight traffic, whatever. It's just great, and there's some additional hours, extended hours, a lot of flexibility. But we do have traditional face-to-face. I'll be honest, it's becoming a little bit challenging since the pandemic. A lot of offices want to do virtual. And so not saying that it's impossible to get face-to-face, but virtual is definitely a great option for a lot of people, but we do offer it. I myself love this service. I used non-medical counseling many, many years ago, back when I was coming home from, let's see here, I think it was my second deployment overseas. I was still enlisted at the time, and I was having some readjustment issues, and my wife wanted me to call. And it was at 3 o'clock in the morning. We were having a discussion. She's like, you should call. She went through a yellow ribbon set, saw this kind of briefing, took a magnet off the fridge. It's like, call. I called, talked about it, decided to do some face-to-face counseling. I did sessions. Wife did sessions. We did joint sessions together. I credit that with saving my marriage, giving me a lot of tools to help me then and in the future. And it's honestly probably the main reason I work for Military OneSource today. I'm a huge fan of the non-medical counseling. So, service members and veterans that are just out in that first year, this can be a game changer for them, because they can get it virtually. They can get it, maybe in their local community. They don't have to drive to an active duty installation. It's free, it's confidential, and it's tailored for them and their family. Because going through with this audience, we're talking about a lot of veterans exiting the military. It's a completely different world, right? They've changed their lifestyle. So counseling might be a big benefit for them to really talk that through. We have other code consultations and stuff I'm going to go through over the next few slides. I'm not going to go through every one of these in full detail. If you want more information about that, go to our website or call us and we can walk you through that. But I'll highlight a few different things as we go along. One thing I like to mention, because I just mentioned, hey, when you get out of the service, it can be very difficult, right? Because you're changing your entire lifestyle. Military is unlike any other job out there. The closest might be policemen, firefighters, maybe some nurses, where your job becomes your identifying factor, becomes your lifestyle. You never really take off the uniform. It's just with you all the time. So it can be difficult. So I'd like to point out the peer-to-peer. We actually do have a peer-to-peer program. So it's non-clinical in nature. So it'd be, not to be technical or whatever, but it'd be kind of like a step down from the non-medical counseling, right? Okay, so it's a step down. So they're going to talk to somebody. They have been trained in peer-to-peer and different techniques, but most of our peer-to-peer people are like military spouses, veterans, current serving service members like in the Guard and Reserve. They understand, and that's what they're going to try to do is match you up with the right person. So they understand. They walked a mile in those boots. They get it. And so it's kind of down another step from the non-medical, right? So this can be a great option for people, especially just transitioning out of the military. Hey, how was it? What was it like for you? What'd you experience? Because I'm experiencing this, and it can help validate certain emotions and things like that. And then they're going to also be able to point them to different resources under our umbrella, and even some resources maybe outside of our scope that might be beneficial based on their needs. Normally I don't go through every one of these, but I will mention, since we're talking about, and I know the focus is a lot of veteran stuff, the wounded warrior might come up. And I think everybody on this call here probably understands wounded warrior, but every service branch, including special operations, has their own version of the wounded warrior. And because we are a government program, we have a wounded warrior program too. What our wounded warrior program is to help facilitate issues, concerns, things like that with people that are in wounded warrior, or maybe they were in a wounded warrior program in their service, whatever component they were in, and they got off of that. And let's say it's either a physical, a visible or invisible wound. It doesn't matter what it is. They got better. They were good. They were able to get back in the operational force, or let's say they had to transition, but they're not using the services now. Maybe something's aggravated that visible or invisible wound, and maybe they need to get reevaluated. They need some assistance from Wounded Warrior. They can contact us. We'll open a case, and we're going to work with the service member, their primary caregiver, or their primary care physician. That any one of them can work with us. We're going to open a case, and we will help facilitate working out between them and that service branch's wounded warrior to see if something can be worked. Either they can get back into it, or maybe there was an issue with service, whatever. We're going to open a case file, and we're going to help work to the ultimate resolution and make sure they're taken care of. So I just wanted to definitely highlight the wounded warrior. I don't bring it up a lot, but in this group, I wanted to mention it. We have additional ones like this one. You'll see the adoption. Maybe somebody's got a hole in their life and they need to fill it through adoption. It can be very difficult to navigate everything with adoption. We have experts that work on just adoption. Now, we don't pay for the adoption. We don't fill out the paperwork, stuff like that, but we can help connect them with the right people and point them in the right direction, kind of guide them a little bit as they get started in that process. I like to mention this one, well, they're all wonderful actually, but the education can be very big. We see a lot of people post getting out, especially wanting to take advantage of their education benefits, and maybe they don't even know where to begin. The military in every service branch has great education offices. However, they are limited by a few things that it's not what they're designed for. They're designed to help a service member, or sometimes if you transfer benefits, a family member, they're there to help you spend government money to pay for education. They don't have the bandwidth and the resources to be able to do other things like helping you maybe identifying that school, understanding what a college catalog is, looking for additional scholarships, things like that. And they're not there to they don't have the bandwidth to help, all the additional family members that, might need that assistance. Our education consultation can bridge those gaps, and we can work with, the spouse, the service member, children, work on those things. I think I've been briefing it a lot lately because I'm knee deep in, my family's been knee deep in scholarship applications for over a year now, because my daughter's graduating in May. Right. And, we want everything we can get. So yes. So I think about scholarships a lot. This education consultation has some a database just of military minded scholarships that other people might not know about. College or your counselors at the school probably don't even know about. There's just a ton of stuff out there. So I just wanted to highlight, because that's a great thing, because again, the military is very pro-education, as I think most of us all know. My personal opinion, I'm not speaking for OneSource or the government, but my opinion, if you join the military and you don't improve your education position during the time or use those benefits after, you're missing out on a golden opportunity. That's just my soapbox. It helped me. My father, just graduated high school and joined the military. My mother never graduated high school. I was the first one to go to college, and the military is who got thinking. I got a degree and a commission, and it's the silver bullet. It has changed my life. So I'm a big fan of that. So anyway, just know that that is there, and we can help the service members while they're in the service or that first year after they exit out. Here's that big one, the transitioning veterans consultation. It's pretty much what it sounds like. They're getting out. We can actually start working with them, like a year out, and then all the way. It's never too late to touch base with us and get involved with this, whether it be identifying their goals, finding out where they need to go to get their different VA assistance, preparing for their civilian career. Like I said, just talked about education opportunities. A lot of our consultations, really, when you strip it all down, they kind of work together a little bit, right? They kind of meld together to really take care of the service member. That's, again, why it takes multiple resources, because there's no one-size-fits-all socket to taking care of this engine, right? I don't know. I just came up with that analogy. I don't know if it works. Some other ones I want to highlight. Some of these are big. Let's talk about the spouse education career opportunity. I see this one big. I do a lot of TAPS briefings and transition briefings at different installations. And right, wrong, or indifferent, most of the time, the service member, when you're in, the service member's career takes priority. It just does. That's a reality of the life of a service member's life. Their career usually takes priority. And sometimes we see when a service member gets out, either they retire, ETS, what have you, that now it's time for the spouse's career to maybe take center stage and get it lift up. Well, spouse education career opportunities can definitely assist with that. There's 4 parts to this. The first part is they help with career exploration, help them identify what kind of career they can do. Now, I will say they do try to stress portable careers, okay, because that's very important, and especially nowadays, fast-paced world we live in. You can able to get a career that can, wherever you move in the country, or even sometimes internationally, you can use that job. Great examples might be, teaching, nursing, things like that. Those are great portable careers. So they're going to work with you on career exploration. Then they're going to work with you on figuring out the licensing you might need or the education you might need. Okay. And inside that, they might, if you need education, there's another part called the MyCAA scholarship, which is for active duty. And they will, they might need to talk to you about that. Now, that scholarship is up to $4,000. We don't own that scholarship, but they will get you over to the MyCAA people, which is, again, under that umbrella, the MCNFP umbrella, and they can work with you on that. It is rank restricted, and it's got to be for active duty. Now, they have recently expanded that program. All enlisted ranks are now eligible. That used to be restricted, so all enlisted ranks. The officer side, there is still some restrictions to that. The last time I looked, I believe it's still first and second lieutenant and WO1 and CW2. But the enlisted is expanded all the way up. So if the service member meets that they're active duty and they meet the rank requirement, then their spouse can participate and apply for the MyCAA scholarship. The third part of this is they will also work with them on career readiness, mock interviews, resume writing, a year of LinkedIn Premium for free in this program to help them with getting ready, and then career connection. We have a database of employers that are military friendly, and they really look for military spouses. We actually have people that go out in this program that go out across the country and sell the benefits of military spouses, right? And there are a lot of benefits that they have. And then they get their information, they put it in, and they have this database, and they're always getting job requirements from employers that are targeting military spouses, and they, again, will connect them with that. So this is a huge program to help that military spouse. And again, it's no secret that when a military member gets out, that's now time for a lot of military spouses to, fully engage their career. Not, just saying this reality out there, and this program can help them a lot. Language services, I don't see this a lot in West Virginia, just where I live, but language services are very big. We have simultaneous interpretation services if we need that, but we also do document translation. That's a very big one, and that saves a lot of people money. Maybe their last, maybe speaking of veterans, maybe they just transitioned from an overseas assignment and that was their last assignment, and they needed to get some stuff translated that they had from overseas, or they married, somebody that, a foreigner. They married somebody from that deployment over there, and they need to get stuff translated, as they're making their way to the United States, maybe college transcript from, wherever they went to university over in Europe. And we can translate those documents free of charge, and we will provide the document translated, certification of authenticity, can save them hundreds of dollars. We can translate just about any document as long as it's an official document and it's non-medical. We can't translate medical documents. Too many HIPAA laws and things like that in there. But we can translate power of attorneys, wills, leases, academic transcripts, things like that. And that can really save people a lot of money, time, and effort. See here, these are big, especially the financial consultation when we see period, because the military is very, finances are huge, period. They just really are, period, right? We think about money every day. Let's face it, it runs our day to day. But in the military, finances means a few more things if they're still in the military or even getting out, because the military or finances impacts readiness, it impacts security clearances, and, impacts your quality of life. And we want to help with that. There are a lot of resources out there to help military members with their finances. Most notably, there's the PFC program, or Personal Financial Counselor program, at all your major installations. And they're wonderful. They can work one-on-one, in person with people, and I love them. I've worked with tons of them all over the country. But we see a lot of people, they need it more of a virtual nature, and Military OneSource does offer financial counseling. Okay, it's the same scope as the PFC program if you're familiar with that program. We provide financial education. We answer financial questions. We can help them with budgeting, credit establishment, credit repair, buying a house, buying a car, financial planning, retirement planning, to include the blended retirement system, which nobody seems to understand. I give a lot of blended retirement briefings across the region, and service members that have just joined and senior leaders don't understand it. But we can help with those things. We will not tell them what to do with their money, and we will not sell them products. This is a free service. And again, this is about educating them so they can make the best informed decision about what to do with their money. And I also like to stress that most people come to financial counselors when they're struggling, but and I like to say the same thing with non-medical counseling. Don't come when you're struggling. I mean, yes, please do if you need it, but you can come to non-medical counseling or financial consultation even when things are good, because things can always probably be a little better, and you can always learn something. So financial counseling, yes, it's something that can help you when things are good and when things are bad. Just talk to somebody. The tax services, our mill tax, that's very good. Speaking of veterans, which I know that is a big crux of what we're talking about here, again, they're still going to have access to the mill tax program for an additional year after they get out. As long as they're within that eligibility period, they can still use our tax services. With our tax services, a lot of people know about the mill tax software that's online that starts the middle of February or January, middle of January, goes to the end of filing season. If you do have an approved extension, you can still use the services. The online tax software is just harder to find because it's not on our front page. But in addition to all that, we have tax consultations. You can actually call anytime year round and get a free tax consultation. Talk with with our tax people. Okay. Now, outside of tax season, yes, we have less of a staff and our hours get constricted again during tax season. We expand our hours and our staff, but they can talk to somebody anytime. Maybe it's you've always done standard deductions and you want to learn, maybe it might be advantageous to do itemizing, because a lot of stuff we do in the military can be written off, a lot of stuff, right? And you just want to know about that. Maybe that barracks lawyer, we all know who I'm talking about, mentioned about all the stuff that they got written off, and you want to learn about that. You want to see, well, can I take advantage? Talk to a tax professional year round, and they can walk you through that, educate you on that, point you the right direction, and then you can decide what you want to do with that information. Now, we have some other resiliency tools and stuff. I love these. Love Everyday app. It's awesome. It is a simple thing. You can get it through our website. Just look up Love Every Day and it'll walk you through how to get it. And basically it's an online tool. And we've expanded some modules to it, but the first initial part, and this is my opinion, the best, and we've expanded the program, but what it does is two individuals in a committed relationship. So you sign up and either your spouse or even a girlfriend or a boyfriend can, you'll sign up, the eligible member, but even their girlfriend or boyfriend can be put into this, that even if they're not eligible. It's one of the few things in our program where they can participate, right? Even though they're not eligible. What it does is, for the initial part of it is for 21 days in a row, it sends a question to both people through text messaging. Okay. And it's a question about your relationship. And the goal is that you both answer that question. It sends the results to each other. Then you can look at it and see how they answered how you both answered that same question. And it's about your relationship. What first attracted you? What do you remember about your first date? Things like that. And then hopefully in a good world, you have time later to talk about that, and you guys can get some shared understanding about your relationship. It's a fantastic program. I used it myself, me and my wife, years ago, because I was working, I was still in the service, come back from deployment, blah, blah. I was like, hey, this new program, let's try it out. It's pretty awesome. I will say there's some things you don't want to do. You don't want to make a joke in there because you'll hear about it. Not that this happened to me. You don't want to not answer, because you also might hear about how you didn't have 5 minutes to spend on a relationship, but you probably had 30 minutes to spend on your fantasy football team. So as long as you take this serious, it can be a wonderful thing to have open, true communication about your relationship. And it's free and it's easy. And it only takes a couple minutes each day. And then when you're sitting in bed at night or you're having dinner, whatever, you can talk about it. It's fantastic. We have some chill drills. Back in the day, we used to have these at all our resource tables and stuff. This little box and Thomas shaking his head, he's probably seen it. This little preloaded MP3 player. I've actually got some on my shelf behind me still. And it had the battery in there, earbuds. You just get it hooked up and hit play, and it walks you through like different relaxation, breathing exercises, all these different stuff. Well, you can get that same thing online now. You can download it from our website and just have it on your phone, and it'll walk you through all these relaxation drills. And it's just something we call chill drills that's available. I do want to mention our website. I've highlighted it a couple times and spoke. It's fantastic. I will say this: there's almost too much stuff on our website, in my opinion. There's that much on there. You can get lost in it for hours. Now, there's the public side, open part of our website. Just go to militaryonesource.mil. Great information, articles, and reference material. Fantastic stuff. If you want a little more out of your experience, I would say sign up for one of the online accounts, and it's open to anybody. You'll build your profile, and that'll determine your eligibility for certain things in there when you build your profile. But a couple of years ago, we opened it up to everybody. Even a general citizen out there can get an online account. Once you build your profile, it'll determine what you get access to and things. But that unlocks additional things like the community resource finder, recorded webinars, financial calculators, all kinds of different stuff out there that's only available if you have an online account. You can actually order products from us too and have them shipped straight to your house. So books for children and things like that, where you can just order those physical copies and we'll send them straight to your house free of charge. I also want to highlight our mobile application. I mentioned it at the beginning because I feel that strongly. I didn't want to wait to bring it up, but you can download on your any of your Play stores, Apple or Android. Look for My Military OneSource, and you can have our mobile application available right there. You can contact us 24/7 through the mobile app or through the website. And always, as I've already mentioned, our call center is open 24/7. We try to break down the website, as I mentioned, because there's so much into it in these different categories. But the easiest thing I tell people is if you need something, look in the little hourglass, little search bar in the top right hand. It's like any website. Type in your stuff, and that'll pull up a list of different things. And you do there. And what you're going to find is there's so many hyperlinks in this on the website. You're going to be reading stuff, and it'll say here additional resources or look for that. You'll start clicking around. Next thing you know, you're nowhere near the yellow brick road you started on. You could be anywhere because there's so many things and information in there. If you want to, you can also stay really connected to us and sign up for some of our blogs and podcasts and our newsletter. You can scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you can click in there and sign up for different newsletters and even the blog brigade and things like that. And we are on all the major social media platforms from Pinterest to YouTube. So you can stay updated on changes to the program, updates. Some things are seasonal, so it's a great way. If you're connected on all these platforms, you'll get alerted. Oh, this is coming up, like, hey, month of the military child. Oh my gosh, April snuck up on me. I didn't realize it was almost April, which is the month of the military child. We start communicating that, in March. So it's a great way to stay connected to things that are coming up. Well, I already kind of hit this a second. I forgot the slide was coming up, the digital stuff, our digital hub, the newsletters and stuff. And there's actually, you can access the archive in there too and see past issues of different newsletters. So you can go back and look at additional things. So Military OneSource, free, confidential, tailored support program available 24/7, 365 days a year to help service members and their immediate family while they're in and up to a year after they exit the military, navigate the challenges surrounding military life. So at this time, I put out a lot of information. That was like 40 some minutes of me just babbling on. I do like having a slide deck because it at least keeps me somewhat honest, because I could talk for hours about this program. I really could. I've been doing this for over 10 years now, and I used it as a service member myself, and now I get to talk about it all the time, and it's a great life. If you have any questions, that concludes my portion of the briefing, subject to any questions that you might have, and I want to thank you guys for your time and attention before I forget to do that.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Really appreciate your energy and enthusiasm and the breadth of information that you were able to share. Also, really appreciate the story you shared there when you were talking about utilization of counseling. One of the strengths of Strive is that's what we're trying to create, is this forum where veterans in their current roles come back and tell the story. And our target audience is those that are in transition, at the start of transition or just out, and I think it's great for individuals like you to come in and share a story, and that you were inspired by those services that you received to end up working for Military OneSource. So again, appreciate the energy and enthusiasm and you sharing that personal story, because that's what we're trying to create here. And for individuals that are in that transition pipeline or still serving, like you said, to realize it's okay to ask for help. Sometimes it's better to ask for help before you're in a crisis mode, right? Like, be preventative, keep stabilized, get out there, find these resources. So, from a father of a currently serving Marine, knowing these resources are available, to a veteran and someone who's trying to help those in transition, I realize the power of Military OneSource. And so you're very grateful for you sharing. I wanted to just see, small audience tonight, but Tom or Jonathan, both of you guys, thanks for joining. And did you have any questions or anecdotes or stories you wanted to share with Mike and the group before I wrap up?
Hey, Mike.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Jonathan, please.
I wouldn't say I have a whole lot to add. It's just, quite a lot to share, Mike. Thanks for doing that. I've always known the Military OneSource is able to help in most scenarios, but it's really quite astonishing how much it really does cover. And I think a lot of folks don't really utilize it to the maximum extent. And even, to your point, it's available to folks that are after they're out as well, to veterans. So it really hits kind of the needs of a lot of folks. So thanks for sharing all that information.
Yeah, and I'll definitely, let me say this, and you'll definitely know I'm prior military and a military officer. Let me caveat off of that, Jonathan. Uh, yes, and I'm glad you brought up the veteran thing because I failed to mention this before. So the eligibility I talked about, yes, we're going to cover you the time you're in the service and up to a year. But even if you call and you're past that year, we're not hanging up the phone on you. It's just that you're not going to be eligible for all the main services. Yes, you're not going to be eligible for financial counseling and individual consultations and non-medical and doing your taxes, things like that. But we're still going to be available for, like information and referral services and to get you, general information. We usually pull up our community resource finder. And that's where even myself as a field consultant, part of my job is when I'm interacting out in communities, if I identify resources that I think are of value to the military and veteran community, not just, hey, I offer a military discount. That's not in it. That's not a thing, whatever. But if you're offering services that can really benefit the military and the veteran, I'm going to gather that information. We're going to put it in the pipeline. We're going to do some vetting based on Department of War guidelines. That's still not rolling off the tongue yet. Department of War guidelines, and make sure that that is of good value. They're not proselytizing. They're not taking advantage. They're not gouging, whatever. That they're truly a real resource. We're going to put it in there. So I do that all the time. I do the vetting too for a lot of other people. I vet their stuff where I've been around a long time, and that's what we'll pull up and pull that and do. And even people that aren't in, like let's say I know of like what's the thing I'm looking for, like a director of a funeral home calls Military OneSource. I have a military veteran. I don't know the protocol. And who do I need to get in touch with to do military services and honors? We have all that information there. We're going to be like, gotcha. And we're going to pull that stuff and we're going to give them the local state POC, give them the general information, and make sure they know who contact to start setting those kind of things up. So it goes well above and beyond just the normal eligibility. So we're not going to turn anybody away. Yes, certain people aren't going to be eligible for the big ticket items. That's just a lot of it's checkbooks and different things like that. I don't know all the behind the scenes stuff with the contract from the Pentagon and stuff like that, but we're still going to help people. We're going to work with we work with a lot of parents. Yes, they have a service member that's just joined the military, right? And they need some assistance. Well, yeah, they're not eligible for stuff, but we're going to give them some general information and resources and point them in the right direction and things like that. Maybe and then there's other areas where we really help out, like caregivers, like children. Parents are deployed. Well, that caregiver's, that has legal, documents stating that they're basically calling on behalf of that child, which is eligible because they're in DEERS, right? And we can give them the resources they need. So there's a lot of different parts to it. Like I could really go on and on with different scenarios out there.
Yeah, thanks for sharing all that additional information, and thanks, Jonathan, for sharing your thoughts. Tom, did you have anything?
No, just, you reminded me of that 365 days, and I appreciate that because shame on me, it hasn't occurred to me the number of veterans we see showing up on campus that probably are at a place where they could use one of or many of the services Military OneSource offers. So maybe I'll have to start getting the word out here, or just posting the flyers up around the halls of the school. So I appreciate the reminder.
What school are you at?
I'm at the Syracuse University.
Okay. Well, Thomas, like I said, you can also sign up for a Military OneSource account yourself. So just go on there and sign up for your own account. You can get access stuff. There are tons of downloadable flyers on there.
Yes.
So you can just go to the product section, look at the downloadable flyers, download them, print them, whatever. And then you can order some stuff, but you're not going to be able to order very much. So that's why I say the downloadables are probably your best option where you're at a school like that. Down whatever you think's applicable, and have that out there.
Excellent. I appreciate it. Thank you again for the information.
No problem.
Yeah, Mike, and just to appreciate that too, because other places we can use those downloadable forms, and for some of the events that we attend for Strive, we're also happy to put stuff out because what we're doing is trying to be this source of other resources, right? To highlight the other resources that are available. So, I just want to touch on a couple things in the last couple minutes here that kind of stood out, and Tom, you just mentioned 365 days. I think timing is very important because, you look at our target audience, like I said, is those individuals that are transitioning, and it's like important, as they're going through TRS for them. So if you're watching or you see this on YouTube later, or you see it on LinkedIn, if you're one of the individuals that watch this later on, and you just finished TRS, you just dropped your Appendix J, wherever you're at, if you haven't already, while you're serving, engage with Military OneSource, think about doing it now as you're going through transition. And then you have that full 365 days. Like we already said a couple times on this call, be proactive. Don't wait until you're in crisis. Start feeling out all those resources available as you're going through that transition process, because it's a lot, right? And it's great to know that there's all these different resources out there. And you may use one of Military OneSource's counseling services, and you may use one of our other resources. Some of the other things, Mike, that you mentioned that were consistent with some of our themes and things we've had before. I really appreciated that there was a lot of wellness and resilience resources in there, because one of our themes with Project Strive is like, look, transition is difficult, and we try to provide resources for what we call the nuts and bolts, right? The blocking, tackling. You got to file a VA claim. You got to choose insurance. You got to do a resume, build a LinkedIn profile. But the other stuff is at the front end and the back end that I don't think we talk about enough in transition, is that this is going to be a stressful process, right? This is a change. We use the term loss of tribe, which you talked about, loss of identity, which you talked about, loss of purpose, which you talked about a little bit, right? So not only are we providing resources for the nuts and bolts things, right, the things you got to do, but also the resilience tools and wellness tools. So I really appreciated, I think slide 4, slide 5, slide 7, countless slides. You had the chill drills. I really like those. It reminded me of a previous speaker we had, Joanna Price, right, Abigail, that she gave us like 6 little drills you can do that all take less than 5 minutes to help you calm yourself down, breathing technique, drink of water before your coffee, things like that. So I just really wanted to say, that I really appreciate that aspect of it too, because for our audience, the individuals that are about to embark on that transition process, that are in it or have just completed it, those things are valuable all the way throughout the process, just as valuable as, the nuts and bolts things.
No, I agree. The resiliency thing's huge. And there was one in the slides where there was just several bullets and I didn't hit all of them. The health and wellness coaching. A lot of people think that health and wellness coaching is just diet and exercise. It's not. It's really a resilience program. And it covers a ton of stuff, not just diet and exercise, pain management, stress management, lifestyle changes, which getting out of the military, that's a lifestyle change for sure. So that can be beneficial. And that one is for the service member, spouse, and teenagers can participate. The 13-year-olds and above can participate in it. Again, there's a ton. I feel like I barely scratched the surface with this briefing, and it was a pretty expansive briefing, but there's just so much.
Yeah, no, and real quick anecdote too, talking about the teenagers, I think that's great to know that it's available for them. For me, when I moved here to Cleveland, my last assignment on active duty was at DFAS Cleveland. So I came here first, both my boys were teenagers, first time they went to a non-DOD school, right? And it was a transition for them to come out, and it's that community and all that. And, I wish I had been able to leverage some of those resources. We leverage other resources for them and help them make that transition. But, that's something else to think about for those that are still serving and that might watch this later on YouTube or on our LinkedIn. So, I really, again, appreciate your willingness to come on, Mike, and share the information. We'd like to continue to have you in our network as an advocate and as a collaborator. So Abigail and I will reach out to you later on. And Tom, thanks for hopping on. And like I said before, we'd love to have you on in the future as well. And so, if Mike, if you got any closing comments, otherwise I'll wrap up with our outgoing message.
No, I think I've spoken enough.
Okay. All right. Well, again, I wanted to say thanks to those who joined, and thank you, Mike, for your time and all the valuable information you shared. For those of you that might watch this later on, and for others, look for it on YouTube, look for it on LinkedIn. Remember that we have the Discord server throughout the month, so that if you don't have any other way to contact us, you can contact us through the Discord server. We're always monitoring that for communication. If you'd like to get in touch with Mike or find out more, reach out to Abigail and I, and we can connect you and get those resources to you. With that, we'll sign off here. Again, thanks for the time, Mike, and we hope that this information gets to as many as possible, because I believe it's very valuable. So thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.